I was going to say, I was about to forget, I was so carried away by all this, it was so wonderful that I was supposed to get up after you sat down and would have sat there for a while. But this is a wonderful, wonderful occasion. It is a celebration of the publication of South of Broad. Pat's new book and the first novel in 14 years, which I'm sure he's heard so much that now he's kind of tired of hearing that. Rub it in. But it is quite an event and quite a celebration. It's particularly exciting to be here. Sweet home, Alabama. I always enjoy being introduced by Jake. Okay. Jake's such a master of understatement. He's so discreet and subdued and so forth. But if the sound system will behave, I would like to take this time to talk to you just a little bit about Pat and what it's been like to have the privilege of sharing the last 12 years of my life with him. When I hear talk about the South of Broad, and it's been 14 years since it came out and so forth, I have to remember what I was doing 14 years ago. It was right before that summer that I had the great honor and privilege of meeting Pat Conroy. It was right here in Birmingham, and it was at he came to the Hoover Library to get one of his many awards, and my dear friends Loretta Cobb and I went to the reception for Pat, and we arrived to find Bill Cobb and Jake talking with this broad-shouldered, blue-eyed Irishman, you know, and I had already inquired when we first got there and was told that Pat Conroy had already left, that he had taken his father, the great Santini, back to the hotel room, and I was so disappointed because I was such an admirer of his fiction. I always wanted to meet him. So I said, well, I hate that we missed him. I really would have liked to have met him. And so as luck would have it, I went over to the refreshment table and started stuffing myself because it was late. By the time we got there, it was the reception was almost over. It was late. I was starving to death, and I had my mouth full. I think I just wrote about this recently. If any of you, unlike me, but if any of you are old enough to get AARP magazine, they lowered their standards and asked me to write about this. Get closer to it. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I was stuffing my mouth and had an absolute mouthful and was introduced to this man saying, "Oh, Cassandra, have you met Pat Conroy?" And I said, "Oh my God." So that was my first introduction. I'm surprised that it went beyond that. I'm sure he wasn't very impressed with my couthness after that. But we became friends, as Jake was telling you. He went on and offered to give me a blurb. I have to say that word, offered to give me a blurb, because I have been interviewed, and people have told me so many times, I hear you met Pat Conroy when you asked him for a blurb for your first novel. And I said, no, I would never have had the nerve to ask him for a blurb for it. And a lot of other Southern writers now tell me that makes me the only writer in the U.S. that has not done so. Which doesn't altogether surprise me. But Pat and I became friends after that night, and then went on to develop more more than friendship. And this is embarrassing. And we're married 3 years later. It is surprising that Pat ever agreed to or decided that he wanted to marry me. We had to go through many trials and tribulations before that ever happened. One of the main things that happened is that I made the mistake of taking him to the farm in Pinkford, Alabama to meet my family reunion. And talk about brave. Even worse, and I can tell this to folks of Alabama, it wasn't my Alabama relatives, it was my mother's kinfolks, and they are the Florida clan. Now, I used to think that Alabama had a monopoly on rednecks, but Florida can hold her own with us in that quick. Or that could just be my family. And I knew that we had made a mistake when we pulled up into the yard, and of course there were nothing but pickups and hound dogs and bird dogs in the yard. And the pickups were covered with bumper stickers saying things like, "This truck is insured by Smith & Wesson. Crime doesn't pay, and neither does farming. And go Seminoles." But the really bigger mistake came when, by the time we got out of the car, before I could even get into the house, here comes Aunt Betty June. Now, I have a feeling that everyone in the South has an Aunt Betty June. She is a holy roller and Bible thumper of heroic proportions, both literally and figuratively. So she got right in my face, waved her finger, and said, "I know what you are doing, young lady, and your sainted mother would roll over in her grave if she were here." Instead of trying to figure that one out, I grabbed a hold of poor Pat's arm, went ahead and, to the belly of the beast and said, "Aunt Betty June, let me introduce you to my fiance." And she said, "Oh, I know who he is." And most people say, "Oh my God, Pat Conroy," and so forth. But when she said that, of course, she glared at him and my heart sank because I knew what it was. It wasn't just that I was a divorced woman who is now living in sin on Fripp Island Path. It was instead that I was going to marry an infidel, a Roman Catholic.